beef tallow and lemon.
Just to moisturize you?
Yeah. Just to moisturize. I'm trying to get out the city, and right now we're in a rental, which sucks, and it's a smart home, which I did not know. Yeah, let me just tell you what these MFers are doing. So, this is fascinating stuff. I told you why we need to move out, right? I needed to get out of our house, and I thought I'll just get a rental tomorrow, and that's what I did. So, I go online to find a rental. I didn't realize that you can't just get a rental because the market is so crazy. Like, I don't know what's up with the rental houses. Anyway, every time I go to this rental, whatever, database to try to find a rental. Am I supposed to put these on?
Yes.
So.
They don't go smaller. They're too big for me, too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're going to fall off my
Flip
head.
them around. They have an orientation and you have them backwards. Yeah, there you go.
This way. Okay. Is that good?
Yeah, is it good for you?
It should feel more comfortable now.
Okay. They feel like they're falling. Anyway, I kept pushing the button for different houses, and they were always taken. And I'm like, what's going on here? Anyway, I did it for 12 houses, and finally, one we were able to rent. So we rented it sight unseen. That happened on a Wednesday, and by Friday, we're moving into this place. We didn't know what it's going to look like.
How far away?
30 minutes out. Okay. It was halfway to where we want to be because I thought, I don't want to culture shock my kids too bad. Give us 30 minutes to practice driving, something. So we move out there, and the front door, everything has a sensor on it. And they got those, they're not bulbs. They're not light bulbs. It's whatever, some shit. I can't, unscrew it.
Huh.
And,
sounds like jail.
Yeah, it felt like jail. To me, it felt like jail in the sense, all of a sudden, I'm thirsty all the time. I can't quench my thirst. My skin was drying up like I was sunburned.
That's weird.
And I had literal sunburn on my face and on my neck. And I hadn't been, at the beach or anything. It's so crazy. And what else?
Did you move into this place?
Yeah, we moved in because, we had to move out. So we moved in. And it was kind of, I thought, would be cool for the kids. They got, a little, I was spoiling them a little bit because Covey was coming back from his stewardship program. And so he came back a man, and I felt like he should have his own space. And when we get on the land, he'll be able to have his own space for sure, but, whatever. So he has a little suite upstairs, and that way he has some privacy, he can do whatever. And my daughter, she works hard. She's doing, she's working at the restaurant, she's working with me at the church. And so she has her little suite. She wants to decorate. She's 15. She wants to decorate and do stuff, so whatever.
Yeah, but that kid's like a 21-year-old.
She is. She's...
Both of them.
Yeah, they're good kids. They're hardworking, but yeah, and they're motivated by cash flow. So
It's I was listening to Joel Salatin yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I've listened to everything. Right, I've listened to everything that's out there on Joel Salatin. I spent a month listening to nothing but Joel Salatin back to back. But I heard something yesterday that he put up 4 days ago, and he's got some things I hadn't heard before. And he said, you need to motivate kids through cash flow. When kids are very young, they're going to be more interested in 2 quarters than $1. But once they learn the value of money, they're going to want the $1. And he said, you need to put kids in motion, give them tasks, and then allow them to fail. Leave them to fail, and they usually won't fail. And if they do, they'll correct it on the approach. And it was just interesting, some of the things that I'd heard him say recently.
What's interesting about that is that I've been doing that, not having heard him say that before. One of the things that he said, though, that inspired me to feel more comfortable with what I was doing was if you read his book, Folks, This Ain't Normal. And in that book, he talks about needing to feel your purpose. and being able to find a purpose. And it really made me feel much more confident. I told Joel, I said, our parents were born slaves to the British India Company.
I've heard you say that.
Yeah. And I didn't realize how that impacted us. But they came to this country for a job. And now that really bothered me because I didn't want my children to grow up just to get a job. And it was, as my son was getting closer to 18, it was really kind of stressing me out because I was doing all this other work with everything with boots on the ground. And the children today, when they turn 18, it's like, oh crap, like we have to be doing something. But they're not allowed to do anything right now. Like have been working since I was 13. And my first job was bagging groceries at the grocery store. And I used to walk to work, bag groceries. But nothing made me prouder as a 13-year-old to be able to tell my mom, hey, you get a discount on groceries, Mom.
Mm.
She's a single mom working her butt off. I don't know how much, I wasn't really making very much money, or I didn't know how many groceries I could buy with it or whatever. But I told her, I go, Mom, I can get you a discount on groceries. And she was so excited that she says, Niti, that's great. Thank you so much. And I felt like I was contributing. I was doing something for her because she's always was doing something for us. And my dad was a deadbeat and, so he was out of the picture. So I wanted my children to be able to feel that. And so I was constantly trying to find something for them to do. Well, I hired my children, and that was probably the best thing I ever did. And they've been able to know how to talk to adults, and they're not afraid to walk up to an adult and help or jump in. I noticed that my kids will not allow someone to do harm in front of them. They'll jump in, or they won't allow someone to struggle or suffer in front of them either. They'll try to help them. And that's why they do that. That's why they're able to do that. I think they see me trying to just help. That's all they've listened to their whole life. But anyway, as my son was getting older, I was like, I don't want him to feel like he's got to leave our house. And also, I don't want him to think he's a mama's boy. What can I do not to put him in that position?
So what did you do?
I told him that, we want to build something. And our parents couldn't do it. And me and Dad can't do it because they didn't help us. Joel Salatin said something to me one time. Because my husband and I were having a talk with him. I called him because we were interested in land. And he's like, Niti, what do you want? Do you just want a cheerleader? I said, yeah, I do. I want a cheerleader because I don't have any guidance from our own parents. Like, they don't know anything about land. I don't know what I'm doing, and that is exactly what I want. I want a cheerleader. And that man is such a saint. He stayed on the phone with my husband and I for 2 hours that evening. He didn't have to do that. He's just on the phone with us for 2 hours. And we're discussing, what we're looking for and why. And one of the most important things he said, okay, don't buy this land for any other reason except for the freedom in it for you. You can't buy the land with pressure of trying to change the world. You can't buy the land to do a bigger, better food church. You can't do it because you're running a business or something like that. You have to do it for your heart and for your own comfort and security. And then you'll know how much, or whatever. And that really changed my husband's mind. Because before that, he was 100% against it. He thought we were just trying to move out to try to be away from everybody or run away from something. And I was like, no, I want it for us to have our security. But also, I put a plan together for my kids that I had to present to my husband and my children and sell it to them. Have you ever tried to sell something to your kids?
No, I don't. No.
We don't generally negotiate with them. Or,
No.
and I told them, I said, if we all work together, then we can pay this land off in probably 5 years or less.
I think I've made a lot of mistakes that way, actually. What I've been saying for the last, I don't know, a couple of years is people are like, well, how do we change this? And I said, you have to change your family. You know, you have to have children, have a piece of property where you can have multiple generations, because we warehouse our folks. You know, we warehouse our older people when they can't do for themselves any longer.
Yeah.
So if we put ourselves in a position, right, everything's stack and pack, everything's to move in, have less. That's the new cool thing, is to have less, own nothing, eat the bugs, live in the pod. Whereas if you can get an acre, 5 acres, 10 acres, build a home, build a secondary home. It can even be these, you know, it can be outbuildings and sheds, and just have a place so that when your parents can live on the property rather than warehousing them, right? While they still can get around, they can help raise your kids. And then as our kids get older, they can help raise and take care of the grandkids and assist us with things, so that it is a community, right? If you look at how the Amish do it, it seems to work pretty well, right? And that's everybody's message right now. I don't have it packaged and polished, right, so that I can present it, and I never will. That's not me. That's why I'm on you, because I need you to do the work. When we were having that conversation, I need you to have something that you can present in, 30 seconds to capture their attention for 3 minutes, and then you can give them the hour. But I think that is the difference, right? And I would assume that's what we can have the kids on the property, and when we get older, the kids will have kids, and we will assist in that. And even, Bear Independent is very big on that. His mother-in-law lives with them, and she's old,
Mm-hmm.
but she has so much value. She still gardens. She rotates the sheep. She raises the kids, and they have so many kids. And then when you do the thing that you believe in your heart, the correct people will show up, right? And they're going to bring kids, and now you're going to have community. Bob's doing a job with that.
So Joel said something to me when I told him, we needed a cheerleader, right? And the next time, he didn't say it right then, but the next time I was on the land, then, we always take a ride up to drink some water.
It sounds like magic.
Yeah.
It literally sounds like magic.
It's magic. It is that God is so great. God is so great that God just brings everybody who I need into my life right on time every single time, and it's so great. It's just incredible. It's so great. Like, I could right now be so buried in grief for my daughter, and instead I'm sitting on top of the world with all of the international leaders of the world. And it's incredible. And it's, what I want everybody to know. So anyway, he says to me, we're up there getting water, and he goes, Niti, we can't control what we inherit. And for a hot minute, I was like kind of offended. Like, my parents came from India, they brought us here. And, I'm very appreciative for that. They didn't know any better, but I couldn't know the things that I know right now if they didn't do that. And so, is it as great as his inheritance? No, I don't. Maybe it is. Maybe it's the same, right? Like, his dad, the difference was his daddy knew how to build everything from the ground up. I sat with his mom, and she was telling me how she met her husband, and how he took her to Venezuela, and how he built their first house on the land. And what was that house? A bunch of cinder blocks. He literally put cinder blocks, and there was one window, and there's no glass for the window. And she said they had lizards coming in and out of their house. And, she's explaining to me what he did. And basically it sounded like he made a concrete igloo for her. And, but like, then they end up on this land. He bought this mountain. If you've never been to Polyface, it's a mountain. It's not a farm.
You invited me, and I have not gone to Polyface.
You gonna come now?
I do. Yeah, I want to go.
It's incredible. So anyway, we were up there and he said that, and I said, I think that our parents did whatever they could do, and that's fine. I appreciate it. I'm going to make sure. So I'm just trying to be very much more deliberate, and I feel like he just lit a fire in me to be like, don't do that. Like, be really careful what you're doing. And
don't buy the piece of property you were looking at. Is that what you mean?
That's part of it.
So when he said that, how you took it is not how he meant it, right? I say that it doesn't matter what I say. It only matters what you hear, right?
Sure.
What you say and what you mean is not necessarily, and what if I heard it on a different day, it might mean something completely different.
Yes.
But he didn't mean to take away from your parents.
No.
What he means is that's not your identity, right?
Right.
I use those things. You're a convict. You've been to prison. I sure as fuck have been to prison, right?
Right.
So why am I able to do what I'm doing when you don't have that over your head? Why aren't you able to do these things?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't. So what happened?
So I just was very much more deliberate and intentional with what we were going to do with the kids. And I had decided that we've already been working together. And, what do these kids want? They just don't want to look like a jerk, and they don't want to look like a mama's boy. And they just want to be like, my son wants to be able to buy tags.
I think your son has bought tags. We're
Yes.
talking about watches, guys.
Yeah. I mean, he wants to be able to do whatever he wants to do. And, I remember telling him, we have a friend. I said, you should go hang out with Mr. Drake and you can learn how to work on cars, And he goes, Mom, I'm always going to have enough money to pay Mr. Drake to fix my car. And I'm like, good answer. I mean, that's good. And on the other hand, if you're on the side of the road and you can't pay Mr. Drake because he ain't on the side of the road, you need to know how to do things.
Nope, but you can call a dude and buy a car I bought a car. We were broke down on the way to the NRA show, and we had to leave the excursion, and we bought a car.
Well, what he's learned now from Mark Baker is, so...
That's Baker's Green Acres, right?
Baker's Green Acres. He went out there and spent a season with Mark, and he came back, and what I've noticed is that, Mark taught him, actually in the first 2 days, was, I hear you really want to learn how to MacGyver things. Like, he was wanting to go to MIT, and he felt like he had to pick a school or whatever because this is the programming, right? Which was shocking because my kids haven't been in public school, but it's still just the peer pressure that they get from society, because I don't keep them wrapped up in a bubble. They are exposed to whatever, everybody. And so he had this idea that he needed to go to school or whatever. And Mark goes, so in what episode does MacGyver call Mom? Like, to resolve a problem? Because when he got up there, he had a problem. And he called me because he doesn't know Mr. Baker, because he's just still getting to know him. And so one of the biggest lessons that he learned immediately was how to advocate for himself. That's number one. And then number two, I'm so proud of him because he called me a couple of days later. What kid does this? Like, he didn't have to do this, but he calls me a couple of days later and he's like, I'm really sorry that I bothered you and worried you about me when you're so far away. And don't worry, I'm fine. Everything's cool. He didn't have to say that. I was like, I'm tearing up thinking about it because that's huge. I was happy if he didn't learn nothing else except that. But what he's learned, I think, or what I've observed in him, is that now he knows that he has this situation. He's not going to just not figure it out, and he's going to try to figure it out on his own. Like, if he needs to just buy another car, maybe that's the easier thing to do. And so, what are the solutions? They're vast. You never know in any given scenario. So what are we doing? We're trying to teach you that you should be what you say unfuckable with, right? So
Unfuckwithable.
Oh yeah. Well, so that just means, life happens, things happen, and you should just be able to create a solution.
That came from, the unfuckwithable came from like during the COVID shit, right? Or the BLM or any of this stuff. And, we talk about it all the time. And I talk about it in content and lives all the time, but 99% of that stuff never happened here. Like we're not participating in your bullshit.
I haven't participated.
And I think a lot of the conversation and it's fight or flight, right? It's for that adrenaline spike because it keeps you in a state of fear.
Yeah.
And you can't rest, and then you can't recover, and you can't operate on a level that you can actually operate on. It keeps you suppressed, and then you have to rely on those systems, right? And it's just constant in that fear. I mean, and now you don't have to watch the news. It's targeted to you on every social media platform. So, and we always I'm like, why are we talking about this, right? Can you touch it? Can you feel it? Can you taste it? Can you smell it? Did it happen to you? Have you ever seen it for real? Mm-hmm. But we continue to have the conversations over and over and over, and it just eats up all the time, right? When we could be talking about how do you grow food? How do you not put poison in your body? How do you drink clean water? How do you start a business? How do you continue to have revenue even when they try to shut you down, right? How do you what happens when they deplatform you and they shut down your social media platforms, right? And we can be having those conversations, but we're not. We're constantly operating in that fear mode.
I'm not.
No, I don't think that you are.
I don't have energy for reactionary bullshit.
I think that you live in a world that a lot of people don't think exists.
Yeah. Everyone says that to me. They're like, well... I've
never heard anybody say it to you, though, so...
You haven't? I have. I've had people say to me, well, for you, blah, 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 everything's so great. Or, well, your kids are so perfect, as if I have nothing to deal with. They don't know what I'm doing. Like, are you actually believing that I'm not investing any energy in my children? Really? Like, they didn't just become incredible, but for no reason. I mean, I think they're incredible because, I want to hang out with them.
They say we spend the first 8 years, a kid spends the first 8 years chasing us for attention, and we spend the rest of their lives chasing them for attention.
I've always been chasing them for attention.
But it seems like you've done well. Like, I've seen your kids with you here, your kids seem part of what you're doing. You've created a position for them.
Because when I was growing up, my mother was, she was raising us as a single mom after I was 12 and told her she needed to kick my dad out. And because he was beating her, and I was like, what are you doing? And she's just like, we can't do this on our own, and what I didn't know at that time was this was 1980. And in the state of North Carolina, I don't know how many people out there really know this, but you could not, a woman could not own real estate in North Carolina.
In 1980.
In 1980. She could sell it. She could be a realtor and sell you real estate all day long and not own it. And she knew that.
So what happened?
Her dad came and visited from India. We told my grandfather that my dad was crazy. And my grandfather listened to everything me and my sister told him. And he did something that I don't know about because,
okay,
whatever it was. And he set up the community to support my mom. I do know that. Like, he deliberately and intentionally went and spoke to certain men in the Indian community in our area and assigned them something. And I don't know what he said. I don't know what he did. But what I know is they rose to the occasion. So my mother was very well supported in that way. But she was on her own. And she was super courageous and super brave. And she just did the thing. And when she finally did ask him to leave, my dad was so freaking stupid. He was stupid. He never asked for the house. He didn't want to pay child support and all these other things, but he never asked for the house.
Maybe he left that for you.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what he did, but, whether he did it on purpose or whether he didn't, because he didn't come after her for the house, she just had to figure out how to pay the mortgage. And... and I know that if you decide you're going to do something, the money comes from somewhere. And we don't even know how. Like, I don't. I just know that I'm going to do something. And I just do it. And somehow it all works out. I don't really know how.
How old were you when your father left?
10.
And then at 13, you got a job at a grocery store. 13, you said?
Yep.
And then how did you end up on this path? Like,
That's funny.
what would you, first of all, a lot of people listening probably don't know who you are.
Oh.
This is Niti Bali. And your company is, what is your food church called?
So I just rechanged it.
Okay.
Now it's just the food church.
The food church.
Mm-hmm. It used to be Farm to Fork Meat Riot.
Yep.
And that was my nonprofit, my incorporated nonprofit.
So where does Niti the FARMacist go into that? That's spelled with an F.
FARM. Yeah. So the reason I started doing this in the first place, just for anybody who doesn't know, is that I discovered that we needed regenerative meat. And I found out all the farmers in my community were obliterated by the corporatocracy, and that North Carolina was losing farmers every day, and Eastern North Carolina was owned by China.
I think all of the meat processing is owned by China.
Well, now it is, but this is 2009, or actually it was 2007 when I was figuring these things out. 2007, 2008, and I was like, this is before GMOs.
Were you still eating from a grocery store?
We were. Actually, I used to go to the farmer's market, but like there was no meat at markets.
But that's deceptive too, right? You go to a farmer's market, and when I asked, did you grow these? Nobody grew any of that stuff.
So I will just say this. A farmer's market is a
outdoor grocery store.
It is a centralized distribution location, and it follows health code 100%. And those producers or non-producers or whatever, because sometimes they're producers, sometimes they're not. But if they are producing any of the food, they still have to comply with health code.
And I believe that health code has nothing to do with health, not your health.
Not at all. I mean, the centralized corporatocracy, which I have said this forever, is they are 100% motivated to have you addicted to drugs. And that is all. And wheat is the number one drug.
Is it the gluten in the wheat, or is it everything?
It's just the wheat. It's the wheat. Wheat is more addictive than heroin. People can get off of drugs and they can't get off of wheat.
Sugar, okay?
Sugar is more harmful with wheat because wheat has a higher glycemic index than sugar, and you can't get off of sugar without getting off the wheat.
There has to be something to that, because every time I want sugar, it is with wheat. It's a pastry,
vehicle.
a donut, something.
Wheat, if you pay attention for yourself, is always your vehicle for fat or sugar.
Yeah.
So, you know what's fascinating is my favorite thing was toast.
With jelly or honey or butter.
For me, it was just only butter. I don't know if it's an Indian thing or my mama thing, but we never put jelly on bread. Like, I had never had that. I had only ever had butter on bread, and I didn't know that you would put jelly on bread until, well, and not in my house, okay, but in school, people would have peanut butter and jelly. I didn't. We only ever had peanut butter only, and I didn't know what the deal was with that, but I also didn't care. I mean, my mom made my sandwiches, whatever, we ate them, right? Well, one day I went to somebody's house, and their mom made me a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and I couldn't eat it. I was like, this is so sweet. Like, it literally was too sweet. And I told her, I said, I can't eat that. It's not really good. And so the mom made it she goes, well, do you eat peanut butter sandwiches? I go, yeah, but there's nothing but peanut butter on them. So she made me a plain one. It was fine. Anyway, everybody, even myself included, we couldn't stop having sugar until we stopped the wheat. You stop the wheat, and amazingly, you don't really want that. And for me, the other part of the wheat was I just wanted butter with my eggs. And I didn't know that I just want the butter, because you don't really taste the bread when you're having the butter. It's more the texture and everything, you know. But if you just allow yourself a whole big thick slice of butter with your eggs, it's like the same thing. And when I realized that, I just started eating butter with eggs, and I got rid of the bread part. And it looks crazy because you're not supposed to do that, right? And you don't like, and then you're a woman, you want to put a whole stick of butter on your plate with eggs, and everybody's looking at you like you're nutso.
Do you think it's modern wheat or wheat all through history wheat?
Okay. You raise livestock. When you're trying to figure out what is the correct diet for chickens or hogs or whatever, do you know how they do that?
No.
But you know that your chickens and hogs and lamb, and they have to eat a specific something.
Okay.
I mean, do you know that? Because you have livestock.
So, yeah, I mean, my sheep aren't going to eat meat, but my chickens are dinosaurs. I mean, they'll eat anything.
They'll eat anything. Birds and hogs will pretty much eat just about anything. But what you should feed them if you want them to be healthier than you are, you know that, I think.
Okay.
Like what you should want them to have. You realize you want them to be on more pasture or more plants or something.
Yeah, if I want more egg production, I up their protein. I give them, more protein.
Right.
We saw a lot of stuff the last 2 years where we typically were feeding birds just straight layer pellet, and they stopped laying eggs. Yeah. I literally took a pen of chickens. Well, I have 4 or 5 pens of chickens. I fed one pen nothing but just straight corn. Mm-hmm. I fed one pen nothing but straight just scratch, like a 5-grain mix, and I fed one pen sunflower seeds.
Yeah.
And all 3 pens started producing a crazy amount of eggs. I didn't give them any layer pellets at all.
Right.
And we went 6 months. Then I put them back on layer pellets, and the egg production went down with the high protein layer pellet, the most expensive feed there was. And I'm using literally the trash. And then I thought, well, they have a gizzard, right? So I don't need to be cracking corn. I'm like, man, cracking corn, this is a mess. It's dusty. So I just started giving them whole corn. Yeah. Just the cheapest stuff you can buy is just whole corn.
Right.
And you know what happened? They started laying eggs.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting that they want you to think you're going to kill livestock, like as if you're raising some, specially bred horse or something.
Right.
And horses are going to die if they eat the wrong grass or
horses try to kill themselves.
Yeah, they're constantly. But everything else, pretty much, you can give it a straight up clean one thing feed, and it's incredible. They thrive. The sunflower seeds, if you were to give it to them with the shells and with the everything.
That's what I give them.
Yeah, and then if you even sprout them, now watch how
right,
that works.
You can sprout any of that. You can run everything fodder.
Any of that stuff, if you fodder it out in a bucket and you sprout it and feed it to them, A, half of the feed will feed them. And B, they're way more robust.
And it's more bionutrient available, right? If we eat sprouts, if we did broccoli sprouts as opposed to broccoli.
Well, for us, it's not. Okay, so back to us. Our digestive system's different. Our digestive system, you know this because you know that your chickens, you said just a minute ago the chickens need because of their...
just raise their protein.
I mean...
The gizzard.
The gizzard, yeah. So we don't have this, okay? So we can't eat rocks, right? So for us, we're also not gorillas. Like they try to compare us to monkeys and gorillas and whatever. Our colon isn't as long as theirs is. So at the end of our digestive system, every single thing we eat turns into sugar. Like it goes into the bloodstream as sugar. Even the meat, protein. But fat, animal fat, only animal fat. Not coconut oil, not, definitely, obviously not machine oil or whatever, the different cooking oils are, or Crisco or whatever. I'm talking about straight up butter, pork, lard, tallow, lamb fat.
What's the difference between lard and tallow?
Tallow is beef that's rendered, and lard is pork.
That's the only difference between them. So they're both fats, just different animal.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And they actually call duck fat tallow, duck tallow. And so whatever, different animals is lard or tallow. Anyway, any animal fat is the only fat that our body receives as fat. So butter is actually nature's weight loss pill for us. Or ghee or lard. Or tallow, and you want to have a variety of these animal fats because what we're finding is people can get a sensitivity to too much of one, especially butter. Anybody who tells me they have a problem with casein and butter and whatever, their inflammation is just off the charts, and it's usually something to do with, the quality of the animal.
Isn't it also usually that there's carbs involved?
In butter, a little bit, there's still carbs.
But no, I mean, the people that have a problem typically are still using high carbs, right? You can eat meat and butter, meat and fats, and be fine. But if you throw carbs in there, then your body stores those fats and you get much larger.
Okay, so if you are still on a standard American diet, then there's so many problems with that I don't even want to, it's too much to talk about. The bigger thing I want everybody to take home right now is that every single thing we eat is sugar, except for fat.
Even diet sodas. Like if you drink I think a diet soda is worse for you than a real soda. And if you
that's a chemical sugar. It's not even a natural sugar. And soda.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
chemical.
About. And then you hear I drink tequila, right, which is 0 carb. It still metabolizes to sugar. It's still gonna.
It does, but actually, silver tequila is received by the body more naturally than a soda. I'm not promoting tequila drinking.
All right, we're going to have a tequila company.
I'm not promoting alcohol. I'm just saying that if you have silver tequila or bourbon or vodka, then your body, it's a distilled, plant or whatever, but it's distilled, it's different. It's received at least as something natural. And still, again, not promoting alcohol. I'm just saying that your body can actually identify it as something real. Versus chemistry projects, like even the stevia.
I love that. The chemistry project thing.
Oh yeah. I can't stand that people are just like, whatever. Like I'm having the healthy protein powder. What? No, you're not. That is a chemistry project. How did you make that into a powder? I want to, I can't turn whatever I'm having into a powder that would taste like that.
I was listening to Joel. I heard Joel Salatin say yesterday, he's like, the problem is that we eat things that we can't grow in our backyard. What plant makes monosodium glutamate, right? Where does red dye number 5 come from? I can't grow that.
No, the best other thing that he says is for the people who are like, we're doing harm by, harvesting livestock is like, well, everything's trying to eat you. And, for the people who don't believe that, why don't you just go spend the night in your garden naked and tell me what happens in the morning?
Right. Have you not ever seen a field plowed before they plant it?
It
kills everything out there.
They don't understand what has to happen for them to... But did you still catch what I just said, though? Like, if every single thing that we eat is only received in the body as sugar, everything, then, and our body requires fat to build cells, then are you wondering why you have cancer? Your body the building block material required for cells is fat. Well, you can't make fat, but gorillas can. Like, gorillas eat all day long plant material, and by the time it gets to the end of their colon and goes into their bloodstream, they've converted plant material into fat. We can't do that. We don't have the ability to do that. And then it's interesting, like, people become carnivore, and then they want to, like, overcomplicate it with glyconeogenesis. I can't have too much protein and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you didn't care about that when you were eating ding-dongs and, brownies or whatever.
I think a lot of that conversation is an excuse to stop or not actually. I think a lot of people having the keto conversation, when you look at it, you're like, you don't look like you're keto, right? I don't think you probably have never even been in ketosis.
I'm in constant ketosis and I don't look like it because I've had 3 autoimmune conditions that people don't know about. And I'm still slowly working on it. And I've talked to everybody about this. My family knows like how militant I am. Joel Salatin knows how. He's like, Niti, you were so militant with the food.
I've seen what I've eaten your meals.
Yeah, and I'm like,
I had your kid's birthday cake.
I think you've tried to feed my kids anything and everything outside of that. I think you test my kids sometimes.
I'm not testing them. I do that just out of like politeness. If I'm eating something, I offered everybody food, right?
Well, yeah.
But I did like ask him, like, when's the last time you had clown food, right? When's the last? And he's like, what is clown? When they give you food through a hole in the window. He's like, 2 years ago. I'm like, so that's when you got your driver's license, that's the time.
Oh, he only did it the one time. Like everybody is, they don't. When my child turned 16, the only thing he wanted to do was drive through a drive-through, and his sister, that's all she wanted to do. They had never been through a drive-through, so they didn't even know what would happen. I mean, no lie, like they wouldn't know what would happen, and they were just like, "What is this like?" And so, and then it's like they wanted me to know that they did it because they took the trash, their Chick-fil-A bags and stuff. This is so hilarious. Sorry, I'm telling this story, son, but anyway, they they took the trash and brought it home and put it in their drawers. And I found it when I'm putting their laundry away, and I'm like, "What is trash in the freaking drawer for?" Like, I was mad about the trash. I didn't really care about the fact that it's a Chick-fil-A bag. It was more about like, why is there garbage in
I
your
can totally.
drawers?
She went.
It's like, why is there garbage in your drawers? I don't understand what's going on. Especially because my children take the trash out of our house. They know where the trash goes. And if you drove through a drive-through, why didn't you just eat it and throw it away? Like,
Why didn't you just throw it at the beginning of the neighborhood like all the other kids do?
It's so interesting. Like, they brought it home and put it in the thing. And I was like, what are y'all doing? So we had a whole family meeting about this. And I was just like, what is happening? Like, I just don't understand why there's garbage.
You almost got put in a rehab, buddy.
Why is there garbage? And so they're just like, well, we just didn't know what it was like to, go to the drive-thru. I go, what do you want to know? Like, what do you... And so it was really sweet. Like, my son's like, look, you made all these decisions, all these food rules for us because their sister died, right? And we just don't even know how you arrived at that or whatever, which I find shocking because, like, we talk about it all day long. So, I mean, they hear me telling people the story all the time. This is actually before my book came out too. So, I said to them, I go, okay, what all do y'all want to try? Like, what do you want to know? They were like, we really want to know what Subway is like. Because their cousins eat it, or whatever. And and he goes, I really want to go to New York Bagel and have breakfast. Like, everybody does it. What is it? And my daughter, she's hilarious. I just want to order pizza at the house. Like, I want them to bring it to us. And I thought that was incredible. And I was like, really? Okay, so we're going to spend a whole weekend where we just do this. And you can just try it, Did you feel like shit?
Like, did it make you feel ill since not being used to eating it?
It wasn't that bad.
No?
I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't that bad.
I'll tell you what he told me.
Most 16-year-olds want to touch a boob.
I was just different.
Well, that's still what we call you. Different.
We can accomplish that this weekend.
Those are different kids.
It was so funny because at the end of this all, I said, so how it, like, my daughter was like, I don't need to do that. He wants to do that. She don't want to have anything to do with it.
But you made her your accomplice. She had to drive you, didn't she?
No, he drove her.
You drove her.
He was driving her. But so what's funny is she's like, I don't need to eat it, Mom. I was like, look, if you want to figure this out, whatever. She's like, no. So she just wanted the pizza man to come to our house. It was so funny. So for breakfast, he went to New York Bagel, and he had whatever. And then for lunch, he had Subway. And then for dinner, he ordered pizza, which I still don't understand the bread on bread. Like, they got the pizza and the breadsticks and the bread on the bread and the more bread. And
I ordered pizza so I can have the cinnamon.
Well, they had that. He had the cinnamon
sticks.
thing. Yeah, he had that. And then I think it was the pizza with the cheese in the crust, which I have never even eaten. So whatever, it was the cheese in the crust and the whatever, the whole nine.
And then is that even really cheese in there?
I don't know what this crap is. You can catch it on fire. Like, you can light it with a... So in any case, the stuff comes over, and I mean, at the end of the day, I go, well, what'd you think? And he's like, well, our bagels actually taste better. And our meat definitely tastes better, so I don't need to ever eat it near.
Yeah, there's some like, is that even meat?
Yeah. So
how many ingredients were in that meat?
I mean, so what we make at home, And we don't even eat bagels on a regular basis, and it's the Udi's gluten-free. I still think it's a chemistry project crap, but they have had those bagels. I mean, our agreement in our home is that when we go on vacation, like other people eat out, we don't eat out. But when we go on vacation, then they can buy the Udi's. Like we can go to a grocery store and get some gluten-free things. But we bring our own meat and eggs and stuff. Like, because I'm not eating it, but they can incorporate whatever I'm cooking with something. So
Every time you come here, you bring a bunch of food.
Yeah.
And then you leave like $1,000 of it.
Well, I don't know about that, but I bring enough food because I am not going to run out of food. And when I bring my family, I have more extra stuff because I don't know what they want.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't have to buy canning jars because you leave enough here that I have enough for the next year.
Yeah, whatever I cook and whatever I've made, I don't carry that stuff back. So I just bring it over here and put it in the fridge. It's like, do you like it?
I do. You do, and you do a bunch of fermented foods, right?
Actually, we don't.
You don't?
I tried to do, what I figured out is that, remember I told you we convert everything to sugar?
Yes.
Everything we're eating is fermenting inside of us.
If you're working correct, right?
No.
Okay.
That's what causes the cancer, the obesity, all the things.
Have you heard recently, I've seen a ton of stuff in like the last 6 months that a lot of diseases and cancers are actually caused from excretion from parasites? Do you think there's illness coming from parasites, or do you not think that's correct?
Okay, well, first of all, there are beneficial bacteria and parasites and all these things that you need.
But I'm talking about like 2-foot-long worms and stuff.
Right. I think that there's a lot of things that we need that are within our body that we don't know about. And there's a lot of folks I know that go and do this, I don't know what you call this flush, some kind of flush where it's like a, what do you call those when you, it's an enema. It's like
a colonic, yeah.
Like a colonic,
okay.
yeah. When you go to those places to do the colonic.
They make you sign a thing that's like you might die from this.
Right. Yo, you guys, they're literally tilling the soil inside of you. And there are so many things that you have going on. I mean, we're you know that we're not just one person, right? Like you understand that we're made of like a whole bunch of microbiomes. Like there's a bunch of living things. Like we're not just one being. We're like thousands and thousands of little micro beings that make us up or whatever. So, yes, we have, beneficial bacterias and other, I guess you could refer to them as pathogens that are living.
Have you heard about, so they do like these detoxes, right? And you eat this diet it's 30 days. Because if you just take the pills or the juices or the potions or whatever, it'll straight kill you, right? So you have to put all this stuff inside you to capture the secretions, basically, when these creatures die or whatever. And worms come out of you, and then you take this, you drink a cup of olive oil, and then the next day, like, liver stones come out of you.
The liver
gallstones.
So the liver and gallstone cleanses that they do, and I know that it includes olive oil, which is, by the way, bad for you, and orange juice or grapefruit juice or something.
That's exactly, we were having.
Yeah, and then you have to do also apple juice.
So my buddy, who you met today, he said, my wife did this detox, and these things came out of her, and he's like, oh, I want to do this. So he did it, and he's like, I really thought I was going to die. Like, we had to stop and not complete it.
Yeah.
He's like, I really thought, he's like, I was going to message you and like, hey, I'm dying.
Yeah.
And so he stopped it, but it went well for the wife. And he says, I did this, but I didn't do the full 30-day prep prior. And like stones come out of you and all kinds of stuff. And like, where do the worms come from?
Okay, here's all I got to say is your body is so genius, like infinite intelligence is so brilliant, and your body can remediate itself. Okay, let me use your land as an example. Was your land like so green before?
No, it's my green thumb.
I mean, you had a water issue. You had all these different things going on. You've done a lot of work on the
I think
land.
I still have some issues.
But I mean, you've done a lot of work
yes,
on this land.
yes.
But and I think that you have invoked the power of regeneration on your land. Do you agree?
I agree that I'm heading that direction. Yeah. Yeah. Some of it works. Yeah. For me.
I'm just saying.
Anything that's not working here is lack of my follow through.
Sure. It might be lack of follow through. It might be.
Like, I'm
more...
scared to death that Joel Salatin's coming here and going to see this.
I want to hear what he says. I'll walk around with him.
I want him to walk around, and then I want to sit him down and tell me, okay, where am I broken?
Because he's this is like,
I know.
I've walked with him so many times, and every single time I'm just like, wow, but it's what it boils down to. What I've realized is that it's the imbalances and the interference. And that's what I see consistently, that what he points out is the imbalances and the interferences. And when you're taking something from nothing and you're turning it into this something, then it's a quantum leap. And so there's a process. And if you aren't doing everything that you're supposed to follow up with, it's probably not a problem, because nature's going to take care of it.
Oh, nature will take care of it.
Nature's taking care of it, and it might not be what you wanted.
Yeah.
But like, if nature doesn't like to be naked,
if you don't put something there, nature's going to put something there for you, and you're not going to like what fucking comes there.
Maybe. And nature likes to layer it all up.
Nature abhors a void.
Yeah, it does not like blank spaces. And so it'll fill it all up with whatever.
That's why I cover it all in gravel.
Yeah. Well, and the gravel is received pretty well, I think. I think nature
if you want grass to grow, just put some gravel where you want your grass.
I think that, I think that gravel goes well when you're traveling over it repeatedly, and then it works pretty good. And
glyphosate works with it too.
Oh, well.
Or fire.
Fire is better.
Yeah, fire is very temporary. Fire will remove everything you don't want there, but something else you released something else with the fire.
Yeah. But this is nature.
No, it made sense when you said till the soil, when I asked you about detoxification, and you're like, you're tilling the soil.
Yeah, I would never till the soil. Every time everybody talks about their detox and their ding and their dong or whatever they're flushing something. What made you so genius that you want to flush something? And what are you flushing out that you might need? You don't know. Like you said, you put the gravel down, nature's going to still not be happy or satisfied. So it's doing something that it needs to do for some reason. And you just don't know what that reason is. It makes you mad, you don't like it, whatever, that's a different problem. But like, there's a reason for whatever's going on. And that's what Joel talks about too. Like, you got to dance with nature. You can't walk all over it. You got to dance with it.
So we were having a conversation when you got here that is very different than this conversation.
Yes.
Tell me how I can mail a piece of mail anywhere in the United States for 2 cents.
We have the power of, so what's alive and well is our general postal system, the general post office still.
Do you know that the postal services were originally going to be a banking system also?
It is a banking system, and it's a court system.
Expand on that.
I'm still learning about the banking side of it, so
Okay.
I can't really teach that very well. But the court side of it is that we can remediate any misunderstanding that we have with any other jurisdiction in writing, and with the assistance of proper postage and proper canceling of the postage and the power of the postage power.
So I put a 2 cent stamp on an envelope.
Yep.
Can it be 2 1-cent stamps, or do those exist?
I think they do.
Okay, so I put a 2 cent stamp on an envelope.
Something about the 2 cent stamp though versus the 2 1 cent stamps.
I address it to you.
Yes.
In North Carolina.
Yes.
I put your zip code in brackets.
Put brackets around the zip code.
And then I cancel the stamp with my name, John Willis. I write John Willis in a silver Sharpie or gold Sharpie, and then I put it in the mailbox.
Your signature.
My signature. It has to be signed.
Yeah.
What about for people?
Actually, it's your autograph. I have to be correct. Okay, so it has to be your autograph, not your signature.
What if people can't write correctly?
You know, this is why my children had to learn script.
You know, they're not teaching cursive any longer.
I know, that's why my children weren't in public school.
So I can put this in the mailbox on Monday, and you're going to receive it at your house on Wednesday or Thursday.
Or whatever, however long it takes. Yep. And make sure that you, on your return address, write John Willis, care of your address, because you're not your address. You are a living man. Make sure you don't write in all caps. That's another thing they train military to write in all caps, because this is a that's part of the corporatocracy. That's called Dog Latin. They're trained to write in Dog Latin. So they're all supposed to, military are all supposed to write in all caps, and they make it so, you know, they it's guised as, well, it's easier to read, it's more efficient, I don't know, whatever, something tactical, something, I don't know. But actually it is Dog Latin. It's gibberish.
And it's not a citizenship, it is of land. And
so there are various citizenships. There's a variety of levels of citizenship. The problem, I mean, what you're trying to, this is why it's so.
The fuck was that?
That was me.
Okay.
Go Flash. Sorry.
That's why it's so difficult to, what they've done, the corporatocracy, what they've done is they've usurped us by taking over and centralizing all our systems, for one thing. And they've dumbed down Americans so much that, you know, we no longer even care where we are from. Isn't it true?
Yes, I think it is, right? We're not going to have borders any longer. You're not going to be an American. You're not going to be... Well, it's all the one world government.
But before that,
yeah.
Like, you're
so this goes
you're
back to
white, right?
Okay.
That's what I mean. Before that, you're not wherever you might be from. Like, you might be German. I don't know what your what is your lineage? Where are you from? Who are you from?
Okay.
Do you know?
No.
Right. They kind of did this on purpose. Like, you know, you must be, you could be, I don't know, Viking for all I know. Like, we don't know.
Probably.
Yeah. So when I was in school, then they used to say to me, you know, like, what color are you? I'm like, I'm from India. And they're like, no, what color are you? I'm not a color. I know where I'm from. I think you're white or black because you don't know where you're from. And I know where I'm from. So I'm not white or black. I'm Indian. And this was a big argument. We're 6 and 7, right, in school. And this is the argument that's going on. But this is important today. Because
back then, Indian wasn't an option, right? You were Indian meant Native American. You were white.
There was
you were
nothing.
Black.
There was only a white and a black box on the thing. And I was always it said race.
Yeah, you only had 2 genders back then, too.
Oh, we still do, but anyway.
I'm with you.
That is a universal law, friends.
I don't have a litter box in there for kids to shit in.
Oh my God. They actually have those in public school.
I keep hearing it.
Entertain.
I ask it on my live feeds, and I'm like, this is horse shit. And people are like, nope, it's at my kid's school.
Let me tell you something. I have people who are in the food church who their children are at schools that are accommodating.
How do you have people coming to your food church that have kids still at school?
So that's
fun. Actually surprising.
This is interesting, right? Because people come to me to the food church to get their food, and then somebody ends up with cancer, and then another member will be like, how do you feel that so-and-so's been diagnosed with cancer, and they come here and get their food? And I'm like, excuse me, you don't buy all your food from me. And you don't always eat everything from here, and I know that because I know my PARs. And I know
What do you mean PARS? What is PARS?
I mean, I know how much food is required
Got it. Okay.
for me to be satiated, or for my children to be satiated, or for my family. And I know how much food I got to take home for my family to eat.
And when you eat real food, your intake is considerably less or more?
It fluctuates.
Because
based on
we
whatever
had a
we're doing.
conversation when I met you, or when I had recently met you, about nutrition density, food density, right?
Right.
And when you buy a steak at Walmart, it is not nutritionally as dense as a steak that comes from an actual cow.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say actual cow.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, you mean a regenerative cow.
not a farm, not a science experiment cow.
Not one that's been finished on GMO grain. The difference is that if they were finished on GMO grain versus not. And so there's this constant debate about what's better, grain fed or not. You know, first of all, I'll say if the animal could walk, it's got more powerful nutrition than your plants because it's walking. That's number one.
Is that to imply that some of these animals we eat cannot walk when we?
They all have to be able to walk to pass USDA inspection.
Do we believe that that's even a real thing?
I mean, they definitely enforce that on the small processors. What they're doing in those industrial size ones, who knows?
So I have a friend that opened a butcher shop. I can take you there. We can tour it.
Okay.
It was very interesting when I went there.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything walking in there about this.
Okay.
He has an office in there, and
Yeah.
it has to stay empty all the time. It is an FDA inspector's office that he had to build into his butcher shop, and he started to sell to the public. And then things started to happen. And he said they came in here, and it literally is like, he says, John, it's literally like their job is to hate us.
Yeah, and
to make our
interfere
life
with your
difficult.
ability to operate.
Yeah. So he
And
stopped.
I know how to resolve that.
So he stopped selling direct to the public. He started doing like food boxes, right? You buy a box share, so you
Yeah.
pick it up once a month.
Right.
And that negated some of the issues.
Right.
But farmers come in with live, big ass cows,
Yeah.
and they bolt gun them and they hide them out. He's got this table they put them on, so they take them and they split them, and he can hang. I think it was like 25 cows can hang in one of his coolers.
Nice.
So I mean, it's legit. Like it was super.
I want to know
super
this
interesting.
guy. I want to know him.
I'll get him to come here this weekend.
Yeah, I want to know him, and I want to tell him.
And he just bought an airplane. He flew over here and sent me a pic. It looks different than a drone when you're flying in an airplane.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Wow. Well, I mean, first of all, how is it? Okay, so we were having a very different conversation.
We can go wherever you want to go.
So I've been trying to you know that everybody wants me to teach them how to do a food church.
Because they believe in what you're telling them.
Right.
You've spoke it so long.
The thing that's interesting is that Joel and John started the Rogue Food Conference, and they invited me to come do the Rogue Food Conference. And when he asked me to do it, I was like, oh, I didn't know I was rogue. Like that was my immediate first knee-jerk reaction is, oh, rogue? I'm rogue?
When I was a kid, we played a game called Dungeons and Dragons. It was this role-playing game. And one of the book modules was the Rogues Gallery. And I'm like, what is rogue? And it's like mercenaries, assassins. It's not operating in the normal structure. And when John Moody wanted to start the Rogue Food Conference, and he threw it at Salatin, and Salatin's like, that sounds like a great idea. You do it, and I'll take the credit. And that's what, like, hey, we should do this self-reliance. We didn't call it Self-Reliance Festival. We just threw a party. A bunch of people showed up, and I'm like, hey, I don't have any machine guns. I don't have a hot air balloon ride. I don't have rock bands. And they're like, we just want to see rabbits. We want to see the aquaponics. And Nicole was there. And I said, maybe there's something to this. Maybe we should actually do something. And she goes, well, how do you involved? I go, well, I want you to do all of the work, and then I want to just take the credit for it. And it's kind of like that. So John Moody, I believe, had the idea. Joel Salatin kind of co-signed it. But I saw you as a bigger presence there than either of them. I like both of them, and they both have the thing that really stuck out to me the most to this day, and I still speak about it, is the dude in Kentucky when they shut his coffee shop down. And he's like, yeah, you're not shutting my coffee shop. And just the circles. And when he left the 2 1-pound bags of coffee at the mayor's house, like, but you were I came there And I don't go anywhere. You can ask these. I don't leave here. I'll go weeks and never leave this property. But I went there because I heard Joel Salatin was there, and I could get there. And I went to that to meet Joel Salatin. But I walked in and talked to Joel Salatin for a few minutes. And I was satisfied. And then I spent 20 minutes talking to you. You were a bigger presence to me than Joel Salatin was. And I remember you standing there talking about needing meat, and Joel Salatin said I can deliver 22 tons a week. And I'm like, holy I don't know what 22 tons of meat looks like, but that seemed like a lot to me. And then and Joel looked at it and he said, kind of like, and I'm like, I'm just burglarizing your conversation. Just keep talking.
Well, 1 ton of meat fits in my van, just for the record. And it's not floor to ceiling or front to back.
So it's not as much as it's like
not
ammo.
as much as you think, because it's
You ever seen a million rounds of 5.56?
Yeah,
it's not as impressive as you think it is.
Every time I would go to pick up from Joel, every time I would go to Polyface to load up to bring back, because I was doing that for a long time, and now we move so much meat from there that he's like, him and Daniel are like, Niti, stop it. We have to deliver this to you. And I'm like, what? Because my van's all like
crooked.
Because Joel kept checking my van out every time I would go to pick up, and I didn't know what he's looking at. I'm dumb. Like, I just am thinking he's trying to see how full it looks, because that's what I'm thinking. Like, it should be full floor to ceiling, because that's why I bought the van, for the physical amount of space that it would hold. And no, he's looking at my whole back end is like about to touch the ground, and
You just have to put more air in the tires, right? Isn't that how that works?
He's looking at, and I don't understand, right? Until one day, literally, I go to pick up, and my van's like this, and Daniel's like, "You are never doing this again." And I'm like, what? He goes, you have to let us get this delivered to you. You can't bring this van here again.
We went to get, a friend had some trees that had fallen down, and he cut them all up, and he's like, you can have the firewood. So we take one of these trailers over there, we fill it up, and we go to pull away, and the tires are flat. We had to unload half of the wood because it was wet wood, and it's not because there wasn't enough air. You don't just fill the tires up, right? You have too much weight in there if the tires are flat, right?
And wood is heavy. I didn't know.
Or do you just? That's a real question.
Heavier duty tires.
Okay, well that wasn't an option.
Well, I didn't know that I tried to bring home a tree stump, or a couple of them, because we were going to build a bench for Mina for the butterfly garden, and I went to go pick up 2 tree stumps, and the dude was like, I can't put that in your van. I go, oh, I got plenty of room. It was just like, no.
You've seen the videos where guys go pick up like a pallet of bricks, they put them in the Ford Ranger, and it breaks the truck in half?
He looked at me like I was bonkers crazy. He's like,
just put it on the roof. They crush them.
He was like, you can't do that. He's like, you need somebody to come here with a truck. And he's explaining to me whatever. And I was just like, oh, okay, I don't know. So anyway, yeah. What were we talking about?
Whatever you want to talk about.
Well, somehow we were talking about, you were talking about 28 tons of meat. So I was going through more than a ton, I think, every month. And I thought, oh, I got this van. It can carry a perfect ton. Like, that's a lot. Like, that's a pallet.
Yeah, you need a semi-truck.
Yeah. No,
so how many families do you feed with a ton of meat?
How many do you think? With a ton of meat. How many do you think 1 ton? Because we're way past
Okay, let me
that
tell you
now.
what I've been doing.
Yes.
Every time we have Self-Reliance Festival, afterwards I'm like, I'm going to start drinking again. Because I like tequila. I drink a margarita. And Amanda says I'm nicer when I drink.
Oh.
So.
You mean like during the festival?
No, like I stopped. I haven't had a drink of alcohol in 3 weeks.
Okay.
I don't consider myself an alcoholic. I just drink before I go to bed. So I haven't had any alcohol. And then I'm like, I'm not eating any processed food. And every time I have SRF, I'm like, I got 6 months. I'm going to look fucking awesome in 6 months. And then I start about a week ahead of time. Oh. And I look different in the mirror, but I've been doing it for 3 weeks this time.
Okay.
So working out twice a day, like real working out. And
like really?
Like for real, yeah. because I take a lot of chemicals. I just
You do?
pills. Oh yeah, pills, potions, injectables,
what?
steroids, everything. I eat all of it.
Really?
Yeah, this is held together by.
Duct tape and ding dongs and duct tape.
Yeah, ask Bob. My favorite tools are fucking vice grip and a hammer. We can fix anything with that. So I've actually people are like, man, you got a gym. You must work out all the time. I'm like, yep, about 5 minutes a day. That dude uses my gym probably more this month than I have, and he's only been here 2 days. So yeah, so I stopped doing that. But I'm like, okay, so we get clown food, right? Because all the fast food places have clown food. So we went to
Who's we?
Amanda and I.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought she's pretty conscious of what she
was like for real carnivore, like real carnivore.
Yeah, I was watching
for
her.
like 2 years. I'm like,
Right.
And I'd look to see if she's like bullshitting me, like try to catch her. I'd sneak downstairs, see what she's eating, like for real.
I mean, she was every time. Well, you could see it.
Yeah, it was not bullshit, like
No.
real. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, can't we just
She's
go?
not doing that anymore?
She hasn't been for a little bit.
Oh.
So we go to Burger King, and I'm like, okay, get me a double Whopper with cheese and a French fry or whatever. And I'm like, and I eat the French fries on the way home, right? I'm like, these are fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Like if I put these outside, birds wouldn't eat them.
They won't.
So we got home,
Bugs won't eat them.
threw the French fries away, and I saw the receipt, and I'm like, what was $35? She's like, you're looking at it. I'm like, bullshit. So this was, I don't know, a couple months ago, right? But I'm like, it just didn't taste whatever, something's askew with it. And I'm of the opinion that they're giving you the fake meat, right? It's not real meat anymore.
I was thinking that before. 'Cause
Yeah.
They had the pink slime in it and all that.
So we'll go there in a minute.
Yeah.
So we start going, I just go to I've never been to Cash Save. It smells like old people, right?
What is it?
It's a little local grocery store.
Oh, okay.
Like you walk in and you're like, there's old people here. It just has smells like your grandma's house.
Yeah.
So, but they have a butcher in there. So I go in there because it's closer than Walmart. I go in there and buy 2 ribeyes, and they look pretty good. Like they're actually bigger than a half inch. You know, they're like actual steaks. And I buy a cucumber. I'll chop that up. You know, skin it, chop that up, put some sea salt on it, put in the fridge, and then grill up a crookneck squash, and then do like a yellow squash.
Oh, okay.
Crookneck. And then I'll chop up a sweet onion, a yellow onion, and I'll put a couple garlic cloves in there, peel them, put them in there, and I can drive to the grocery store, get this food, come home, cook it, eat it in like 30 minutes.
Right.
So
Same amount of time to go get that crap.
the bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, clown food.
Yeah. So
I like that.
So I did that for like 8 days, 9 days, and then we order something from Amanda's. I'm going to use the delivery service from Walmart, and pretty cool.
They deliver?
Yeah, and they'll let you actually. We have the same shopper. So she always is our shopper, and we tip her, and she always brings us the produce she brings looks pretty good, right? But 2 ribeyes show up from Walmart, and I'm like, hey, there's some shit with these Walmart ribeyes, right?
Oh.
I've been seeing all the social media stuff. People are cooking them, and they're like, I paid $35 for these 2 steaks, and then they pull them apart. You can just pull it apart with a fork. You don't have to cut it. And I'm like, that's like printed meat, or that's some pink slime
3D
shit
meat?
where they twisted it back together, right? It just comes apart.
There is meat glue, like that's a thing.
The pink slime. So I cook these.
No, there's pink slime and there's meat glue, which is separate.
Okay, so
This was from a long time
so
ago.
I cook these. They sound different on the grill. They smell different. They look different. I ate a bite. I go, something's wrong with this, and we threw them away.
Yeah.
And then I went and got 2 other steaks that night.
Right.
But there
Did
is
they have bone-in?
they're bone-in ribeyes.
Bone-in glued ones, wow.
I don't know if that's what they are, but they are not the same as the dude that cuts the meat
Yeah.
at the butcher shop.
I mean, so when I very first started the food church, then I didn't call it the food church then. It was just, whatever, farm to fork meat. And I used to take college kids with me who, because they would work with me in the summer. And we would go from Walmart to all the different grocery stores like Food Lion and, like from the crappiest ones to the best ones to the Whole Foods.
How's Whole Foods? That's great food, right? Whole Foods?
We'll get there in a minute.
They had like 3 aisles of fucking fake shit there, right? Because Bezos, Amazon, bought Whole Foods.
Well, I know that, but
that company failed though. It went out of business, so now they're down to 1 aisle of fake meat.
You talking about the Beyond whatever something or another? It's never taken off in our market.
Yeah,
like in
because
our
people.
in our market,
I don't think it's taken off in anyone's market.
I mean, I think they want us to believe that people want that crap, but like I think there's this much of a space in the Whole Foods that has it, and it's always full. Everything else will be empty, and this is full. But anyway, I'm talking about we would do this tour, and I would show them different cuts of meat from all the way from Walmart all the way to Whole Foods. And as you go from the stores, they progressively look more and more like meat. Then you get to Whole Foods.
You should put that together in a video.
Well, yeah, I mean, so this is before like YouTube was a thing or whatever when I was doing this. And so I would show them, and like all of those kids are converted. They've never eaten crap again or whatever. I said, see, like it doesn't even look like the same thing. And then they would come to see our stuff after that. And when people come to us at the beginning, they're just like, this doesn't even look like your ground meat just doesn't even look like the same as whatever that other stuff is or whatever. And never mind how it tastes and everything. But yeah, I was like,
you know how when you leave a piece of meat out, right, it oxidizes, right?
Yeah.
So it turns kind of like not as bright red. So when you take a proper piece of meat and you cut it, it should be bright red where the oxygen hasn't touched it on the inside. I've seen steaks lately that are bright red on the outside, and when you cut them, they're brown on the inside. It's because they're putting some shit on them to trick you into thinking they're fresh meat.
okay, well, first of all, nobody's had fresh meat. Let me just start with that.
Because fresh meat's not as good. The most expensive steaks have hung and aged. Are you about to tell me that that's not the case? Tell me. Go ahead.
No, where do I start with this? Like, first of all, they didn't just kill that cow out back of Walmart. So, like, your meat is not fresh.
How old do you think the meat is when we buy it from someplace?
I have no idea. But
I recently found out that apples, by the time you're eating an apple from the grocery store,
it's over a month for that.
I heard it's over a year.
Well, maybe. Well, they can store them. You can storehouse apples. Like we know, farmers know how to storehouse the apples. There's a way to do it.
Yeah, in the ground, in a root cellar.
Well, yeah, you could put them in a root cellar. You could. Well, there's a variety of things. But let me finish what I'm saying about the meat. So, I think people like I've had butchers argue me to death about, well, I'm a butcher and we get the fresh sides. No, you don't. They didn't just kill that cow.
I know the name of the cow.
Right.
I picked my cow out that's in the freezer.
I'm like, I know the cows that we want to get, and I need it to hang, and then I need it to be frozen to put in the truck to bring it down. Because have you ever handled fresh meat? Like, it's freaking a bloody, slimy mess. So you're not trying to handle that fresh. It's a mess.
How long do you want it to hang for?
I mean, I don't know. It's fine. 3 weeks is fine.
Hang for 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, people want it to be like really aged, like, and it needs to hang for longer and whatever.
I've heard of like really expensive steaks where they hang so long they have like mold on them.
Well, even the 3-week-old ones have mold on them. But like, you don't want it to be hanging there so that there's so much mold that you cut away all the fat and everything.
Do you eat sheep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't really hang them.
I was just curious if you.
Yeah, we eat everything.
And pork.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, back to my other thing though, it's like, they go, but we're butchers and we receive fresh sides. No, you don't. Because if you read the USDA standards for transporting meat, they have to transport it in a truck at 32 degrees, between 32 and 35 degrees, which is technically frozen.
I can take you to my guy. You can watch the cows come in alive.
We can too. We can just process them on the farm. Covey and I were getting ready to go to Mark's and do the hog processing class up there, but
we're switching everything to zebra.
To zebras. What?
Yeah, we're going to start eating zebras.
You're going to start eating zebras? Because they won't have eggs on them?
No, they're really mean. Nobody will get on the property, and then when I use them, I can still eat the zebras.
Where do you get the zebras?
Texas.
Really?
Yeah, $5,000.
That's a lot.
For one. I mean, they're going to make more zebras.
I guess.
I'm not really eating fucking zebras.
No, but I'm also trying to figure out, like,
Have you ever seen the picture of the old time zoos where there's women riding ostriches?
really? I
Yes.
don't think I've seen that.
And zebras and yeah.
I think in the zoo,
zoo used to be cool. Like you could die going to the zoo in the old days.
because the animals
Hell yeah. Like that's the kind of zoo I want to go to.
are so funny.
We have a zoo like an hour from here. It's a drive-through zoo. And I'm like, oh, this is lame.
Drive-through?
Yeah, it's going to be like a tourist trap, right? We went, man, we had the best time. Amanda and I went. And you buy this bucket, and they sell you like a bucket of feed. The smart way to do it is you take your own bag of feed, and you just use their bucket. So you come right in past these cattle guards, and there's zebras there, and there's like 3 of them.
Oh.
And you're like, oh. Because you're excited. It's the first animals you've seen. So you roll the window down, and the first thing the zebra does is reach inside and grab Amanda's bucket, throw it on the ground, and look at her and be like, now what?
Yeah.
I'm like, you better get out and get that bucket. That's $20 of feed right there. And she's like, I'm not getting. I'm like, you better fight. I'm like, you better go get that bucket. And the ostriches comes in, and he looks like the ostrich like reaches in on the other side, and he's going to eat some of the feed, and then he just like bangs you in the face. They're like
mean.
They're like mobsters up in there. It took 90 minutes to drive through that. It's a great time.
They're
like
gangster.
and they have a school bus you can rent, so you can take your whole family out on the like school bus. It's like cut the sides out. It's pretty neat. I highly recommend.
That's gangster.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How about them Highland cows? You ever see like those real woolly little cows?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, my friend has them. He's like, man, you make more money selling the calves than you can. Nobody wants the big ones.
Yeah.
But they're only like half size, so some people use them for milk, you know?
Yeah. I bet they make good milk.
They're super cute.
Those stout cows, though, are really good on grass. And the thing that people don't know, well, back to what I didn't finish probably any of the thoughts that I had about any
Go
of the
ahead.
meat.
I'll-
No, I'm just going to say, like, you know,
This guy's going to take the conversations we had and like cut them into clips that nobody can understand, but they're going to be super mad about them.
Yeah. They, but people have never paid for food either, and they've never eaten fresh meat either. So what they don't understand is that when you go home with meat from the grocery store, it's been thawed and frozen like 5 times.
They probably wouldn't
At
even
least.
like fresh meat at first.
They don't. People come get meat from me and they're like, I don't like your beef.
My friend Pierre got a bunch of grass fed, like no corn, nothing in there, right? Grass fed. And he was super excited about it. And he cooked it up and he's like, I couldn't stand the smell. I didn't like the taste. He's like, I'm never buying that again.
And some of them are you know, like what's fascinating is we tasted beef from multiple farms at the very beginning. And the younger the beef is, the more it tastes like crab. And actually, well, the very young ones are just like veal. So they have no flavor. And actually, for people who don't eat pork, they want the veal because that behaves like pork. Like you have to season it and do something to it. And to really, really have properly grass-fed beef that's marbled the way that the buffalo were, they need to be older than 10, 15 years.
Will buffalo just create marble on its own, or do you have to do something
Any
special with
of
that?
these herbivores marble after 10 or 15 years. But think about it, like when we had herds that were miles wide and miles long, then the Indians only would go after the slow older ones, because not just because they were older or whatever, all the moral bullshit that people want to put on top of it. Well, it was because they were the well marbled ones. You want the older ones. They've lived a good life. They've eaten grass for a long time, and the marbling on them is incredible.
Do you eat organ meat?
No. Well, I don't mind it. Like, I don't try to eat it or anything like that. That's the other thing. Why is it that you go from eating literal garbage into trying to eat something better, and now all of a sudden you're concerned about eating organs?
Well, I asked that because Liver King, haven't you met the Liver King? That's not really why I ask it. Like, if you look at so you sent him to kind of intern with people and experience different things, right? And live there for 6 weeks at a time and in different places. How long was it?
That one was 10 weeks.
Okay.
I want it to be at least 9 or 12 weeks because it takes time to.
So in Africa, they have this whole situation where young elephants, they killed a ton of elephants, right? And young elephants were going crazy and running through villages and people's houses and just trampling people to death, right? And what they found is they killed all the older elephants, so there was nobody to mentor the younger elephants. And the older elephants would take a journey. They would take these younger elephants and take them away from the pack, and they would enter manhood. And then you have like the Maasai, right? A rite of passage for men is they would take. I was in prison with a guy that was from a Maasai tribe, and I think it's 16. They actually take the boys out and they have to kill a lion with a spear. And that's kind of a rite of passage. But the first thing they do when they kill those animals is they eat the organs. Like the kids and the women eat the meat and such, but the warriors that slaughter the animal and kill the animal, they eat the organ meat.
Do you know why they do that?
I don't. Why?
So think about the Native Americans. They had the hunting tribe.
Yes.
So they would send those guys out.
I thought it was like because the organs contain most of the minerals or something.
No, listen to what I'm saying. When you're hunting, and now you're out there, wherever, miles away, and you killed these buffalo, and they didn't just go like the crazy white people and just be killing a whole bunch of, like they're strategically killing them and whatever. Well, how do you bring them home? It's this big old buffalo. You got to get it back somehow. You know, they don't have all the equipment and stuff that we have. How did they do it?
How did they do it?
Yeah, they just carried them back. But so you kill them, right? You bleed them. They take a break. They drink the blood. They eat the organs. There, because they've been working so hard to hunt them first, and then once they actually kill them, then that's what they have to replenish. That's their instant electrolytes and whatever, and it gives them the power to be able to carry the buffalo back. It was just logical. It was practical. They needed fuel.
Okay.
So they drank the blood, they ate the organs, and they brought them back.
And we no longer need that.
It's not that we don't need it or not need it. When you go out, who's running after buffalo and killing them out wherever somewhere and then bringing them back? We have
His two twin kids do.
Yeah, so if you're
I
doing
can
that,
totally see them running down a buffalo.
right? If they do that, then they're gonna have to dress it a little bit or something to bring it back, right? So when they do that, why would you waste the blood? Why would you waste the organs?
I think.
And you're hungry, and you just did all this, so you take a break, you honor the beast, you drink the blood, you eat the organs. It's freshly, perfectly warm, and that's when everything tastes good too. Like it tastes good because you're freaking been doing all this work and you're hungry now, right? Anything tastes good when you're out in the field like that, I think. And so they did. And then that replenished them powerfully. And then they carried everything back. Nowadays, first of all, you talk about drinking blood and everybody's like, oh my God, they're freaking out. And I'm like, well, I don't understand, that's the life force of the beast. And I don't know about you, but like all the beef that we get, every part of the beef tastes like beef, including the liver. The only thing different about it is the texture.
Well, I'm not poor anymore, so I don't eat anything but steak.
I just don't like only steak all the time.
It never dawned on me, Niti, that how many steaks are in a cow?
16.
I didn't know that. I thought there was lots of steaks in a cow.
One side.
Until you said,
About
I heard you
16 on one
say there's 16 steaks in a cow.
On one side.
And how much hamburgers in a cow?
The rest of the whole beast, just about. Well, it depends. If you're going to roast it out, if you're going to cut chuck steaks, you can cut animals multiple different ways. So if you're cutting chuck steaks, you'll have more steaks. But the main steaks that people call steak, the ribeyes, the filet, the New York strip.
How many filet mignons are in a cow?
16.
So
on one side.
So I heard you say the first thing I teach my clients how to cook is hamburger.
Yes.
Because there's more hamburger in a cow. You're
right.
welcome, farmers. That's stuck in my head from Rogue Food Conference. I'm like, I didn't know that.
Right. Well, they always get stuck with the burger.
And then I saw, I found your Instagram, and I'm looking through here, and I'm like, spatchcock. What the hell is spatchcock? I go, this makes perfect sense. I don't have to shake and bake it anymore.
Right.
Because my idea of cooking meat is cut it into small pieces. It cooks faster, and then you don't have to have skill, right? And then you just put a lot of seasoning on it.
Consistent cook, yeah.
So, but the spatchcock thing, when you cut the bird in the middle and laid it out flat, I'm like, holy shit, that makes perfect sense.
And it's delicious, right?
I haven't done it.
What?
I was waiting for you to make it.
Are you serious right now? You have birds?
Yes.
We can make it tonight. It's so easy. That is the easiest, most delicious thing.
It looks, on cast iron. It looked
Simple. I have easy mama recipes. And also, what kid doesn't eat burgers? Or dad?
But what do you eat burgers on?
Plates.
That has gluten.
My plate?
The hamburger bun.
No, I don't have bread.
But how am I going to hold all the goo?
No, so the goo is what? The raw cheese? I put butter on mine.
Well, my raw cheese comes in slices, and I pull the plastic off of them. Mayonnaise, mustard.
Even if you do that, you know what my daughter does is she likes, really what it is she likes Thousand Island is what it is. But she doesn't know that because she hasn't
That's the secret sauce on the Big Mac.
Right. She hasn't had Thousand Island like that. So what she knows is she likes to mix mustard, ketchup, and mayo and relish. And then,
But it has to be sweet relish. Like dill relish shouldn't exist. It's got to be...
No, it's only dill relish.
No.
Yes.
No.
And it's perfect.
No. How do you eat tuna?
Raw.
You open the can.
No. We get sashimi.
You put 2 boiled eggs.
Ooh. Okay, no. First of all, did you know that can? They cooked it in that can.
Yeah, the can has plastic in it, right? It has a plastic
aluminum. But this is how gross it is. They put the fish in the can and then they pressure cook the cans after they're closed up.
Have you ever seen video from like an old time cannery?
No.
Like all the Fisherman's Wharf and all that stuff when they were.
No, I can't even imagine.
Have you ever seen a whaling ship?
I've heard really scary things about those.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like, have you ever seen video of like an old whaling ship? We used to catch these whales and kill for lamp oil. We were using it for lamp oil.
Because it's smart.
It's pretty it's
it's efficient. It's a lot.
There's a lot of easier ways, I think, to make light than catching whales.
Well, I will tell you that rendering fat from animals is way easier than plants, making oil out of plants. You trying to make some freaking corn oil.
Yeah, I don't
it's
think
the dumbest
like
thing
olive
ever.
Oil seems like it would be very difficult for me to make olive oil.
It's easier to make olive oil than it would be to make freaking corn oil.
I'm with you.
Yeah, or what was the canola oil? What's that? Flowers? What are they pressing? I don't even know where the oil is coming from.
Well, rapeseed. Canola oil is rapeseed. It's the #1 ingredient in yoga mats. It's also what all of your fast food restaurants use for their chicken McNuggets and their French fries.
I also remember a time. Okay, so when in the 70s, McDonald's actually used to fry in beef tallow.
Okay.
And so that's why everybody, when we were growing up, didn't look like lard asses. Like, we were eating animal fat.
How do I make lard?
You just take pork fat and put it in a slow cooker and go to bed.
And how do I make tallow?
The same.
It's literally just the fat we cut off.
You just cut it. It's better if you chop it up and then put it in there. But even if you didn't, let's just say you just put it in there all whole. It's going to render down. But when you cut it up into small pieces and then put it in a slow cooker and cook it down, then you get cracklins. And those are delicious. So at the end of it, you pull those out and you salt them real good. And you just
We went to
carnivore.
We were in Memphis for something a while ago. And we went to a sports bar just because it was close and I was starving. And we got cracklins and they brought them out and put them on the table and they were still pop. Like they would burn the shit out of you. Like they would pop and burn you. You'd have a burn on you from these cracklins. They were holy shit. They were so good. The cracklins. I found a YouTube channel Amanda found a couple of weeks ago, and I've been watching a ton of their stuff. It's a YouTube channel called More Than a Farmer, and it's just this husband and wife, and she made the tallow, and she put it in the pressure cooker, but put it out on the patio.
Pressure cooker?
Or maybe an Instant Pot or something. She put it in something.
Pot. You could put it in there
and rendered down tallow, and then and then she also did something that was pretty cool. She tomatoes, right? So they blended up their tomatoes or whatever, and then she put it in like a tea pitcher, and then let it settle. And then she just opened the valve and it put the part she wanted in the water. It separated it. So it took all the moisture that she didn't want out of there. It's pretty neat.
Why did she do that?
I don't know, but it made really good content. I'm sure there's a reason why. I don't remember what she was doing, but I'm captivated by
Maybe
the
she was
videos.
making tomato paste or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But they did a thing where they ate nothing but food that they produced for 48 hours. And then I think they did another video where they only consumed and ate things that they made for a week. And I know like they make their own yogurt. They have a cow. They bring in their own milk and they make yogurt. And they just it's neat.
So what's the big deal? What is it about these people that want to go from the standard American diet to they want to homestead their food and only eat
Well,
what they
she came
produce?
from a Mennonite family.
Oh, that's different.
And this dude looks like Travis Barker. He's got like neck tattoos. He looks like he's probably a drummer in a band or something. But the content's good. I think that in the last 3 years.
I don't mean it for them specifically. I'm generally speaking like just the average person out there. I think that they want to either eat the standard American diet or they think they need to go homestead and grow everything themselves and eat it.
Maybe it's maturity. And we mature at different ages, maybe, right?
Or maybe we've been dumbed down so much from the centralized systems.
Right. People are waking up, especially over the last 3 years.
Right. So all of a sudden, there's this thing where everybody's realizing that, you know what? There's something going on. And, you know, they actually we have this book that Anna wrote that is called, it's an affidavit, actually. It's called, You Know Something Is Wrong When. And anybody who gets this book, like it kind of looks like a cartoon. There's like pictures in there and everything because she was trying to make it like into, I think, sound bites or something. I don't really know. I don't understand because for me it was a distraction because I just want to know what are you talking about.
No, I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Here.
And it's an affidavit. So for people out there who don't understand and know, like when there's been a crime committed or you want to report, you know, like crimes against humanity, then you would do that by writing an affidavit.
Okay.
And what an affidavit is it is literally just the events that have happened.
It's a sworn statement that's notarized by an official, right? That's what an affidavit is. Maybe not.
Yeah, it is. It is a proper list, if you will, of events. You're listing events. And you're reporting them.
Who is Anna?
So Anna Maria Reisinger is the
Spelled
wife.
with a Z.
With a Z. Is she's the wife. Well, first of all, she is our fiduciary for the United States of America. Her husband is the head of state. And no one seems to know what a head of state does.
Tell us.
So our forefathers created a government that they based, you know, and everybody thinks it's based in the Constitution, but actually it was based around the Declaration of Independence. And people don't even really know about the Declaration of Independence. And that we actually live free under the Declaration of Independence, and then we created the Constitution, and we included our Bill of Rights in them because the Constitution was written for our foreign subcontractors. Because, you know, if you really want to go big in business, you want to be able to trade with the rest of the world, right? You don't want to just be limited to only do business with your own nation. So you want to be able to provide things and trade and exchange and commerce around the world. You don't want it to be very limited. And in an effort to do that, you have to have certain trade agreements with the rest of the world. If you want, you know, these days they have, what do they have, like distribution deals? Mm-hmm. Or things of that nature. So originally you would have, you know, if you're interested in exchanging and commerce, which I don't think people even do people know what commerce is?
I think some people do. I think most people don't though.
Really? So people tell me that I speak and use these words that are like big words. I don't think commerce is a big word, but I think it's not a common word.
Isn't commerce an exchange of goods or services for funds? That's what commerce
Yeah,
is?
and I think that people refer to it as capitalism.
Okay.
And I guess it could be capitalism, but it's commerce. So in any case, when our nation was founded, then we wanted to be able to exchange in commerce because, to create wealth for the nation. And so they had trade agreements. And so we had these international trade relationships. And one of those relationships was with Britain or, England. We had an agreement because they had the largest navy in the world, because when we only had 13 colonies, then we had no military, we had no navy, right? So, and at that time, then when you're out on the high seas, everybody was being pirated. And did you know that when a pirate took over your ship, that everybody would know that this ship has been pirated because they'd put gold fringe around the flag? Like they would pirate your ship, and then you always had your own flag on your ship. I think people know about that, right? Like
I don't know about that.
So
I know that each ship flies from port of registration or whatever, each ship has a flag.
Okay. I don't know if it's port of registration or what it is, but I always was made to understand that, if America is sending a ship, or France or Spain or whoever it is, with their goods to trade, then their ship would have their nation flag.
Okay.
So, but if it was pirated, they'd put gold fringe around it, and then everybody would know that that ship has been pirated.
Interesting. I've never heard that. Okay.
I know. I don't know. It's fascinating. Like, you would think that if they pirated it, they might want people to believe that you're the French or whoever it was. But no.
Or so you can go through waters where there's an embargo against other countries, or, whatever.
Yeah,
I
I don't.
apt to check your ship for,
I don't know. Like, I have no experience in that, so
Okay.
like I can't really know. I don't know what you would be thinking when you're doing that, but that's what they used to do.
Okay.
And so whenever you see a flag that has gold fringe around it, that means you've been pirated. That is how they designate that on the water.
I heard a lot of talk while Trump was in office about the flag that he flew was a very different flag from every other president had. I don't know what the significance to that was. I didn't really pay attention to it. But when I was looking and searching Google images for the flag, that what's this thing that we're talking about right here? Mm-hmm. What's the name of it?
The flag I'm talking about?
This whole let's call it a movement or whatever. What is
the movement?
Yeah.
You mean the reconstruction of the Federation?
Yes.
The reconstruction of the Federation.
So if I'm not a U.S. citizen or I'm not a sovereign citizen, what am I?
American.
American, and what is it, land and soil?
No. So, okay. There's American state nationals.
Okay.
When you're born on this land and soil, meaning in America, meaning this continent.
Okay.
We might need to distinguish it with meets and bounds. I don't even really know. But you're born in a state. Where were you born?
In Texas.
Oh, so you're a Texan. So Texas and every state in America is a nation state.
Okay.
It's its own country. That's how we were established.
13 of them.
13 colonies. Each of the colonies were nation states.
Okay.
The same as Germany was always a nation state. So they always called a nation a state. And that's still true. I don't know if that has been lost or convoluted in linguistics theft or what. But we know they keep changing definitions of everything on the minute. And they do this, y'all, in an effort because they don't want us to be able to communicate with each other. And I've had this problem since the beginning of anything I've ever tried to share with anybody, because anyone who's a truth speaker, they're taking all of our language and they're trying to create linguistics theft and turn it into something else because they don't want anyone else to really believe anything that we're saying.
I've heard a lot over the last few years that very wealthy people teach their kids business vocabulary and legal vocabulary because it's different from the vocabulary that normal people speak.
Yeah, just plain English. So there's just plain English.
So you have to hire a lawyer because you don't understand most of the vocabulary when you have to go to court for something, for instance.
Okay, well, let me go back to what I was talking about first. So what you need to know is that our forefathers, when they established, like, you know, when we started our trade, we had these different trade agreements. The reason I'm bringing that up is because when we decided to work with England and work with their Navy, then we gave them jurisdiction over all of our waterways. And that's significant and important because they still have jurisdiction over all of our waterways. And the other thing that I when I started looking into all of this, then what I wanted to do, I mean, I had to understand the history to really understand if any of this is true. Like, you know, people come up to me and they're just like, well, how do you know this is real? How do you know this is actually the truth? Well, because like everything, I don't just believe things that people say to me. I like research it down to the ground. And so in this case, that required me to make a timeline. I needed to get a timeline of history, which when you're in school, you know, whatever they're teaching us, which is generally, you know, lies and bullshit, because they don't want you to actually know the truth about anything, because it is part of the corporatocracy.
The crazier thing is the people teaching you think that what they're teaching you is correct, even because it's just been passed down. It changes. The history books change every 10 years.
I mean, the institutional strength, lies and deception is really legit. I mean, what they did is brilliant. And, you know, it's so rudimentary though. Like when you start going back to see what they're doing, it's genius, you know. Everybody right now is made to believe our system is broken. You hear them say the system is broken. The system's not broken. The system's working perfectly. It's just that you don't know the rules of the game. You think you're playing checkers and they're playing chess. Or whatever. You think you're playing Monopoly and they're playing, you know, checkers. The point is that they get to tell you the rules and you're just supposed to follow them. I mean, from preschool, what do they say? Stop, mind your business, sit down, be quiet. No, you don't need to care about what's going on over here with little Billy. Okay, I got it. You're not supposed to care. So you've heard me talking about the law of nature. You know, I talk about the 8 principles of the laws of the universe and the law of nature. There's only 7 that most people know. If you Google the principles of the laws of nature, there's only ever 7. But there's an 8th principle that's been occulted. It's been hidden for years. And that is the generative principle, which is funny. Everything I do is about generative and regenerating and generative. And at the end of the day, the generative principle is care. And why does that matter? Well, you know, the first principle is mentalism. You know, thoughts are things. You talk about that a lot, you know, the proper mindset. Well, you know, your thoughts are things. Get your mind right. You can't do anything if you don't get your mind right. And most people make themselves sick with their thoughts. I mean, doesn't it always start with some person who's evil who comes up to you and says, hey, you have A, B, C, or D. They just put some bad words on you.
Yeah, your frequency is what you frequently see, right? If you operate in the positive, you've got positivity coming. If you operate in the negative, you've got, like, for every negative piece you put out, you're getting 2 back, right?
Right. And I mean, you know, people can draw you down. We know that from a lot of these events. You know, you have an area for everybody to kind of go escape if they're speaking or they're leading or they're doing something. And
you're telling the secrets.
Sometimes, you know, it's kind of I guess a joke, like, oh, you know, they need special treatment. But the truth is,
there are some people we coddle. I do say often, this is the self-reliance festival. They need to be self-reliant.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to be coddled. And at the same time, you know, when you have like
fragility,
when you have people coming and sucking the lifeblood out of you the whole time, then it takes a minute to go back and kind of just, like
That's
rage
real.
and-
I mean, we do encounter people who literally, it's almost like evil, right?
I mean, they're literally trying to suck the lifeblood out of me. Sometimes I feel like, because they keep asking me the same thing, and I love them and I care about them and I want them to know the truth, and so I don't mind. I really don't mind. And I mean, everything I've been doing, people who have hung around with me a long time, the kids know, like, it's exhausting because I'm literally on repeat all day long. And I've been doing that for years. I mean, anybody who's ever worked for us or worked with me, they say it's the hardest job they've ever had. And if I say, well, what's so hard about it? And they're like, we just keep saying the same thing.
It's Groundhog Day.
Over and over.
I'll get dudes that are like, what's your story? I'm like, there's 1,000 videos. Go find one, but they're never going to go find one, right?
No.
And the presentation is going to be very different if you give it to them.
Right. And it's always based on my energy right now. Like, what's my energy now?
The magic, I guess, is what's going to be different,
Well, I'm going to be feeding off of their energy too. If they step to me a certain way, they're going to have a reflection first. And then maybe they're going to hear me because I'm going to overpower their reflection a little bit. And that's when a lot of people can't take our energy because they're just like, oh my God.
Do you have people around you that you operate better with certain people there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I think they're like my energy balancers. I mean, my husband's one of them. The kids definitely help balance our energy for us a little bit.
You know how you can tell when people are full of shit? It's when you look at their spouse and their spouse is like rolling their eyes, I look at your husband when you say things and he's never like negative. He is always, I look at him, he's like.
Yeah. And then he'll tell me later.
And these guys, like
Yeah.
and they're like.
Yeah. They know it's true. They're sick of hearing it sometimes.
but they believe it.
They do. They've experienced it. They've experienced it. Once you've experienced something, so like, for example,
like when Austin's like, I row for an hour, I just look at his wife and she's like, that motherfucker ain't never rowed for an hour.
I mean, so I was always trying to figure out, people come to me and what do they want? What do they want from me?
What do they want? What do you think they want?
There's two things people want from me usually. One is the person who wants to come and just like live with us because they want to immerse themselves in regenerative lifestyle because they want to know how to do the lifestyle. The other person is, well, I guess there's three. So the other person wants to know, how do I run my business and not go to jail or whatever? Like, how do I do my business like you're doing and I don't go to jail or, I don't have, I'm not in Club Fed or whatever.
It's crazy. They'll put a man in Club Fed for apricot seeds.
They've been trying to bust me for selling meat. Like, I'm the meat dealer.
But you don't sell meat.
I mean, I provide meat.
Right. You have a membership to a church, to a club.
Well, I'm providing whatever people want and if they want it. And I did do it under the food church.
What's the most dangerous thing?
I did it under the food church because I was the bigger thing that I was doing that they didn't want me to do was teach.
I think that's what it's about.
Yeah, it's more about the teaching. They didn't want me to. You know that they teach you. They teach you. The corporatocracy teaches you to cook your meat to damn death, right?
Because it kills all the nutrition.
Because you're gonna die if you eat it if it's raw, right? But if you eat raw meat, it's far more nutrient dense.
Is there any dangerous raw meat?
I mean, there's people who are handling meat dangerously, thoughtlessly, carelessly. So there's that problem. But there's animals that are sicker than you are. And then they take them and they soak them in chemistry project fluids or inject them with things.
Or bleach.
Well, they gotta bleach it so it's clean. If you want safety out there, then, these regulators are gonna make it safe.
But shouldn't you just throw it for each side 2 minutes on a 500 degree? I mean, doesn't that kill every piece of bacteria that could possibly be there?
I mean, now you're just
making
speaking
sense.
like logically, okay? Like, you can't bring logic into the conversation. Come on. Yeah. So this is what we go through all day long. But so the third person wants me just to spoon feed them everything. And then they want to be able to blame me, right? Because this is the corporate training. So the corporate training is that you're a corporate fiction and you're not responsible for anything.
Yep.
And as a corporate fiction, you know, you're always right. Customer's always right, right? If I'm the customer, I get to just do whatever I want. That's how you create a litigious society anyway, right? And
yeah, imagine if you couldn't, when we go to court, there has to be a victim on the stand, first of all.
so that's interesting. In court, they're always soliciting. It's a solicitation. So they're soliciting whatever it is. They don't have any reason to actually engage with you.
Right. It's not really illegal if I pay this fine.
So there's a confusion about legal and lawful. We operate here on the land. It's called the law of the land. And that's the jurisdiction of the land. Then there's the jurisdiction of the water. And there's the jurisdiction of the air. And the air kind of touches the land and the air kind of touches the water. So the air jurisdiction is the most powerful jurisdiction because it's over the land and the water. And then there's general jurisdiction. So I have general jurisdiction because I am a living woman. And you're a living man. So you have general jurisdiction too. And that general jurisdiction has been assigned to us by God. And then there's the government. So there's God, and then there's any other jurisdiction. Okay? And they don't want you to believe that because, you know, I mean, this is why it's a spiritual war we're in. The spiritual war, the reason it's so powerful is because it's very confusing because, you know, people think that spirituality is religion and so everything can be offensive.
So are we talking good and evil, God and Satan?
I don't know. I think it's more about divide and conquer and thoughts and beliefs. So religion is actually your thoughts and your beliefs.
Because
isn't your belief system, I mean, isn't that what you call your religion anyway?
can you have God without religion? We can have religion without the church, right? The church is the people, not the place.
Religion is just your beliefs.
Okay.
So what are your beliefs? What's your belief? Your belief is just the thoughts you keep thinking.
Okay.
Well, you could just change your mind.
Right. And we can evolve. We can also realize that we were incorrect in our beliefs.
I mean, our forefathers came here for religious freedom, and everybody thinks that has something to do with Christianity or something.
I think people know what's good and evil, but we put them aside, or what the right thing is, right? We put them aside out of convenience.
I think that they've been trying to profiteer off of, evil's kept all the good profiteering for a long time. Like people, you could say that
making people sick to sell them medication
God's been
is pretty
making money
evil.
off of the Satan for a long time.
Okay.
You could say that.
I heard you say it earlier.
Yeah. Well, because what they've done is they've created confusion by making everyone believe that morality is relative, and it's not. Morality is objective. They say that's your moral compass versus my moral compass. No, that's lies and bullshit. The universe has a standard, and morality is 100% objective. You know, morality aligns with truth, and immorality aligns with lies. And if you walk the line and you don't choose, you know, positive or negative, then you're immoral. Now, you know what? It's actually not good and bad. Actually, what it is, John, is there's positive and negative polarities. Polarity is one of the universal laws. So think about it more like this. You can live your life and you can live it positively polarized or negatively polarized. If you live it negatively polarized, then you need to be all the way negative. That's hard. Who's that freaking negative? I mean, have you ever tried to just be angry for a long time? It hurts. It's like, I can't do it. I'm just like, fuck it. Like, I can't be angry.
That's what they say. It takes way less muscles to smile than it does to frown.
Right. It's just, we are liquid love, and we are just looking for a place to happen. And it's way easier to be polarized positively.
I think everybody wants to be needed and of value and appreciated.
And loved.
Yeah. Same.
And love is the divine solvent of everything. But people, and what everybody's wanting to do is judge. If you want to shape someone, like they put you in a class and you're getting judged, or because you're got to make the grade, right? But what if you just praised?
Your conversation, like when I meet a person, I'm like, what do you do? And I hear people all the time, they've never said it to me or about me, I don't think, but they're like, you're asking what they do because you're assigning value to the person. Maybe. That's not what I'm doing. I want to know what you're doing so that how can I do business with you, or who can I put you with that you can do business with, right? But I do see the point in that, right? If you met a person and just had a conversation and didn't include what you do for a living, would the conversation be different?
I want to know it because I told you earlier, my biggest problem is I care too much. And it's funny because I have t-shirts that say I don't care. But I mean, that's because I care too much. And I had to realize that I can't care about you more than you care about you.
When I pulled into Rogue Food Conference, tons of people were wearing shirts that said I don't care. And I'm like, what the fuck is this about, right? But then when you gave your presentation, you're like, I don't care. What they're doing doesn't matter to me. I don't care what they're doing. And that's what that was about.
Yeah, well, it's just that I can love you. I can't love you more than you're going to allow me to love you. I can't care about you more than you're going to allow me to care about you. So I can spend my day all day long loving and caring about you and pouring myself over you, and you could just ignore me, which is what happened to me. I had people who were like, Niti, you care way more about my food than I do. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, I'm so stupid. And I will not do that again. And, okay. And, it was kind of arrogant of me. Who do I think I am? Trying to care so much and control everybody. They were receiving it as...
Well, they seeked you out. You didn't knock on their door and be like, hey, you have to eat these things.
This is the point that I always felt like, well, I didn't have a flag outside. I didn't, how did you find me?
Yeah, people come on my live feed and they're like, why am I watching it? Well, why the fuck are you watching it? I didn't knock on your door and be like, hey, it's 9:00. Tune into this.
I loved it when at one of the Self-Reliance festivals, you said, if I hear one more person say that they're not on social media and so they can't find whatever it was that we're referencing on social media, you could just shut the fuck up because you're here because you heard about this on
you
social
only got
media.
Here from social media.
Right, because you otherwise didn't even know this was happening.
Yeah, this only exists because of social media.
So when people find me, I don't understand how. How did you find me? Because I don't spend a dime on marketing. I would say that the most marketing money I spend is coming here.
I think a lot of people believe what you're doing, but it's difficult for them because it requires a change in lifestyle, right? It changes something they're doing. So people who they care about, they hope that they will do it. Like, I would rather somebody come make all my meals and I don't have to cook and use your protocols and stuff, but I would totally hire a chef to come in here and do all the shit you tell them to do. I don't even necessarily care what it is you want done. Just, okay, here, do what cook my meals the way she tells you to, and we're going to do this for 30 days. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm like you. I don't want to learn how to figure out radios. And so when Evan started his thing and he was like, you can do this and not have to deal with the FCC.
That's not exactly what he said.
That isn't what he says ever. I don't think he actually says that. but that's what I got out of it.
Because that's when they'll come to you. That's when they're coming after you.
Well, they are a corporation for profit, not government. I want everyone out there, please.
They have these laws and these regulations in place.
Who's these? Who does?
Okay, let's say the FCC. You have to have this latest. You have to have this stamp. You have to have our approval because you paid your fee to use our airwaves. They're fine as long as you pay the fee. So it's
Okay.
legal for a fee.
But the radio guys only want it. Well, first of all, they don't track traffic.
Yeah, who's going to tell on you?
They
Another
don't
radio
track
guy.
the traffic. And they don't track the traffic on any of the frequencies that aren't registered with the FCC. And so they won't keep some of the other frequencies or give them as much support or whatever it is if you're not paying. And so for the radio guys, they want that support because they want to keep all the extra amateur channels and whatever available. And so for that reason, they get tricked and tripped up, whatever, to contract with this corporation that is not the government. Everybody who we're mad at about government management, like FDA, USDA,
Right,
whatever,
how are they going to know?
they're all of these people that were coming after me, trying to shut me down. All of these people, like the CPS, trying to come get your kids, they're for profit. All of these people are corporations that are for profit. That is not the government. So what we're talking about when we're saying we don't like the government is the corporatocracy. Who's allowing this to happen? We, the people, are the government. We, the people, are the ones not showing up to work, our government. So we're actually, when we say that we don't like the government, it's because we don't know our power. We don't know our role. We don't know that we are in charge. And if you own a shop, John, and you don't come run it, and you have foreign subcontractors that you have come run the shop for you, don't be mad when they F it up. When they're doing things you don't like, which is exactly what is happening in America today, we own it. It's our stuff. We are the ones who have the power to do something about it. But they got Americans dumbed down to where they're incompetent. How are they incompetent? Well, I don't know. They don't even know how to use a knife and fork, John, because you can't have real knives, can you? Where do you go where you can eat a meal and have real knives and forks? Because a knife is a weapon now. And when this is what is going on in the world, and you're having to ask the government, or who you think is the government, and they're not the government, it is the corporatocracy, because you're asking the FCC for permission. You're asking the USDA for permission. You're asking the NCDA and the FDA and the CDC and all these people for permission. When you're asking people for permission, then you're incompetent because you don't know anything.
So what's the solution?
Knowledge.
Okay, give me something actionable. What can these people listening right now, listening to your voice, what could they do today that will change the course and direction of their life?
They could understand and know that our nation was usurped by the corporatocracy that then made us believe that they are in charge. And they've been training us into that for our whole lives. And what they did was they unlawfully changed our political status from being American state nationals or state nationals to the state that you were born in. Like, you're a Texan, I'm a New Yorker. So I was born in New York. That makes me a New Yorker. That is my lineage.
So what happens when people are born in a state that is not one of the original 13 colonies?
Well, we've already incorporated them into the, I don't mean by corporations, but I mean we have included them within the United States of America, unincorporated, the organic land and soil nation that is 100% alive and well. But there's very few people who know that. And there's very few people who understand how that works. And there's very few people who have the knowledge on how to remedy the problem and how to reconstruct what was our original government. And we've come so far away from that for 150 years that people actually believe that the FCC, the USDA, the NCDA, the all of these does and everybody are the bosses. And they're not. They're all 100% for-profit incorporated. They all have DUN numbers,
Duns
and Bradstreet numbers, DMB. If they have a DMB number, which we can show you the list of all the DMB numbers, there's a DMB number for every single prison, every single school, every single institution. And there is no school, including private, including whatever, that doesn't have a DMB number.
Standard and Poor's and everything.
Right. And so if you have a DMB number and you have, even the EIN numbers, right? So you can, what I've learned, you can declare yourself as a commercial business, like a private commercial business. And you have to record that back on the land and soil. There's a way to do this
without
properly.
having an EIN and SIC and still have
You
a bank
can still
account.
have an EIN number just because, you need that for a merchant account or whatever, because they've tied everything up with these banking systems. But Anna Maria Reisinger has also created a separate banking system completely free of this.
Where is that?
It is actually operating right now. I can show you some links for some websites.
So I can open a bank account with her bank.
Almost. They're almost there, but only, you can do it as a vendor. So they have actually created the Federation dollar, and it's gold backed because they've got our gold. The gold that was originally backing our money, that was stolen from our forefathers, is back. And it's 100% backing the minting of this dollar.
Do you know every time somebody says they're going to have a currency that's gold backed, the CIA kills them?
Right. I know, I don't even know. You're asking me these questions. How are they alive? And all of these things. And I'm not arguing with you at all. I don't have answers. I'm not the knower of all things. But what I do know is that there's way more people that know all this information now, so they can't just get away with killing the one.
So where would people go to research this and look this up?
The first place you can go to, what's easiest is we're having a conversation on a YouTube channel that I created. It's called The United States of America. I did this with Anna.
The United States of America. There's four more letters to
there's
find.
TASA at the end. So it's The United States of America. And then at the end of it, put TASA for the State Assemblies, the American State Assemblies, sorry. The American State Assemblies, TASA. So just put TASA at the end. And then you're going to see our American peacetime flag.
Have you ever heard of Dangerous History podcast?
No.
We had him here. He's got an amazing, he flushes this out. He was a history professor.
Oh.
He's written books. He's got this thing called a Dangerous History podcast. And he kind of takes the other side of history and then flushes it out and goes, this is what you thought and this is what it is, or this is what it's not. But I know that I can become a sponsoring member of his channel, and then he will build a video and do this whole thing on whatever topic I want if I sponsor his show.
Oh.
So I can pay him, and he will do an actual proper video on this, and we'll see what we can get him to do.
Do it. That's awesome. Challenge accepted. And then I can bring Anna. And it would be very cool.
Don't bring Anna here. They'll fucking drone strike this place if she's over here.
I'm saying we can...
Remote her in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that it would be very cool to get you, this guy, Anna, and myself on StreamYard and have a conversation.
I'll reach out to him as soon as we're off of here.
Yeah, I think that would be
because
so
he'll
fun.
do it. He'll do a proper job of it.
Yeah. I mean, I want him to have time ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then when he's ready, then we should have a conversation, and we'll just do it on all our channels for all our people.
Awesome.
The idea really is I mean, the only reason I want everybody to know this is because, all my work is just to save the babies. Like, that's all I'm ever doing. And my only mission is, has always been to reestablish the small family farm food system. That's always been the mission, because I want to save the babies, because we need real food. And I don't see the problem that I find is that you have. I mean, did you know that you can't be an American right now and get a loan and buy more than 20 acres of land?
No, I've not heard this.
This has been my biggest problem. That was what I was trying to talk to you the last time. I was so pissed off because when I start going to look for land, my husband can qualify for a $2 million monstrosity on a quarter acre. You put like any monstrosity with his, whatever, he could qualify for this loan. All right. But everything else remaining the same. He still keeps the same job, whatever. But instead of using the money to buy this monstrosity on a quarter acre, we want to now buy, 1,000 acres. No, he can't use it. He can't do that. How is that okay? How does this make any sense?
Why is that?
Because, and it's not even like, it would be different. It would be one thing if we were to say, we want that land and we're going to farm and he's going to quit his job, right?
So what was the reason given?
The USDA, there's no bank like Fannie, there's no loan that they can make for the limit is 20 acres. You can't buy more than 20 acres on a loan. Can't do it. The only reason you can is if you want to be a developer, in which case you need to show them a plan and blah, 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 whatever.
Is this a thing in your municipality, maybe a North Carolina thing?
I don't think so, because I'm finding this is a problem with a lot of farmers across the country. But hey, if I'm wrong, you tell me. I want to know. But USDA is who does the loans.
But you don't know. You don't have to. So maybe with USDA.
USDA is the only one that's making the loans for anybody who wants to buy more than 20 acres. It's considered an agricultural loan, and it only can come from them.
If it's been zoned agricultural property, I think.
Maybe, but most acreage over 20 acres, I don't think so, because like the land that we were trying to get was just private. It was previously it was a private hunting range.
Mm-hmm. So where do people find you? How do people do what business can people do with you?
I'm not really doing business with people outside of my market right now.
Okay.
If you're in my market and you want to join the food church, then, cool. And I don't know, if you want a health coach, you can call me, but like right now I'm really just trying hard to get this going.
Okay.
Because I want to put all my energy in helping ranchers and farmers and everybody if you want to learn how to get your land patent done and own your land, exclusive of the corporatocracy, then reach out to me and I'll just charge you a consultation fee to help you do all this because I need to be able to pay for my time.
And where would people reach out to you at?
Thefoodchurch.org.
That's the URL, just foodchurch.org, and it's coming to you.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll come to me. When you go there should be contact something. I'm very accessible. I don't think it's hard. You could go to my Instagram, Niti the FARMacist. You could go to that YouTube channel, that United States one, and you can message me through there.
Okay.
I'm running it, so. But, yeah. Yeah, I just want everyone to have this information because I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart because it's the right thing to do. I feel like it's my moral responsibility to do it. And it's like Joel was saying, he's like, because I was trying to do the food church workshop. I was trying to do all these other things. And I just can't do lies and bullshit. And if I feel like there's something more powerful I should be telling you, I got to iron that out. And that was what was happening. I just was like, I got to iron this out. And anybody who took my workshop here before, just find me because I'll help you figure out the missing pieces of whatever it was I didn't give you because.
And you're doing a workshop here this tomorrow?
I was trying to do a workshop here tomorrow. Nobody really knows what I would be talking about probably because, I said it was dissolving illusions. I explained, how to get your power back, but I don't think folks really believe that's real or true, or I don't know. I don't know what anybody thinks, honestly. But now we are going to do a roundtable discussion for anybody who wants to do it. So if you're here and you want to sit down, then I think that's the way to go. Because, I know that you know this, John. Like, John's always like, well, what are you making on this? And what are you making on that? And I'm not making money on these things. And it looks like I'm just leaving money on the table. But I have specific relationships with different people, and I manage them in a certain way to leverage my greater work, which is to reestablish the small family farm food system. And currently, people don't understand that you have never paid for your food unless you've grown it yourself or you've actually paid a farm direct, and you don't know at what expense that's coming to you, and all the people that you're harming on the way. And it's 100% immoral. Just like it's immoral to allow your children to believe that there's more than one gender or to entertain any of this crap just because they're in school, which is what parents do.
Well, parents go along with it. I don't think the parents agree with it. I think they go along with it because it's free babysitting. They've been convinced, right? We took the woman out of the house. We said, you're of no value if you don't go earn an income. Right up until 1971, a single man could work and support his 2.5 kids and his wife could stay home and raise the children and fully pay a mortgage. And that all changed. And the vestiges, the last of that was that is when we finally went off the last parts of the gold standard. And then up until then, you would put money in the bank, and the money every year would have more money. And then at the demarcation is right there, and that's when it changed. And if you left your money in the bank, you actually lost money. Mm-hmm. And that's where that all changed.
Yes. And Honest Abe was not Abe. Not honest. He was gangster.
I thought he was a vampire.
He's definitely gangster.
Have you not seen the Abraham Lincoln was
vampires?
Hunted vampires. He was still, I think he was still a vampire.
So the corporatocracy is the corpse. Corporatocracy
Means yes, dead.
Yeah, it's the dead speak corpse, and then corporation oration. So it's dead speak, and it is every time someone wants to set up a corporation, or they say, oh, PMA or whatever, LLC, they're doing it to take all their responsibility off of them. So I guess I'll give out a warning. If you want to come back to the land and soil and you want to reclaim yourself as a sovereign, then that comes with great responsibility. So what does that mean? Like if we're operating in common law and you're drinking and driving and you kill somebody riding their bike down the street, that's a life for a life in our court system. Because there's no prison system. You guys should just know that it's a lot more draconian, and also, like, why are you not caring enough to know better than to do that? There's just no reason to do that. So,
all right,
it's a cost. There's a cost.
Did you expect this when we walked out here? You're like, hey, are you walking? I'm going to walk with you. Did you expect us to walk in this door and sit? Did you not notice all the lights went off and one came on?
I didn't know.
We just recorded all this, right?
Okay.
All right.
Well, I knew when I put my headphones on we were recording, and maybe we were recording before that. I don't really know.
Yep.
But that's fine. It's cool. I mean, look, I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.